Hey, today I'm going to show you about making kombucha at home. So I thought I'd get this started for you. I have a large sauce pot, and in it I fill it most of the way full of water and 8 of the organic green tea bags. And I picked those up at Sam's. This is the cheapest place I found them, in the large box. And you'll need a bowl to put your SCOBY in, and a measuring cup to measure out 1 cup of your previous batch of kombucha. If you do not have some from your previous batch, you'll need to use distilled white vinegar. Also, these jarred baled bottles are great for your second ferment. And you'll need a 1 cup measuring cup and sugar. You can use raw sugar, white sugar, agave, pretty much any kind of sugar. And then I use the large glass jars that we save from when we purchase pickles. It's glass, and then a breathable cloth to put on the top. I use coffee filters. So while I have the tea going, when this comes to a boil, you'll turn it off and then let it cool to room temperature. While it's cooling, you will add 1 cup of your sugar, which I choose to use the raw organic. I make a batch every 5 days, and for me, it's a good reason. I can't wait 10 days in between. But you can see how the liquid level has dropped. This is the newer one, and in the next few days it will drop a little bit more. So I hope you can see that. You can also see the SCOBY floating in the top, and this is the one we're gonna work with today. So I'm gonna take this off, and you use the distilled vinegar to sterilize all of your equipment before you go reaching in and taking your SCOBY out and messing with it. So I'm gonna pour a little bit of the white distilled vinegar in this bowl and get everything clean and sterilized. So now that I have that done, and you're gonna wanna sterilize your bottles. So I just pour a little bit of the vinegar into a bottle, and it'll sterilize the funnel for me. And then I'll take what's in that bottle and swish it around and do the next and the next and the next. So I'm not wasting a whole lot of vinegar. So we're gonna reach in here and take our SCOBY out, which makes more SCOBY babies. And there's long strands that kind of look gross and boogery sometimes. I kind of turn it on its side because it's a little bit hard to get a hold of. You see the layers? That's from the different batches. This is made 4 or 5 batches already. You see the different layers. You can pull those apart to start another batch of kombucha, or you can give those to a friend or a neighbor or a church member if they want to make their own kombucha. So the next step is to measure out 1 to 2 cups of your kombucha that has been fermenting for roughly 10 days. I think this one's been a little bit longer, but that's okay. So I'm going to measure it into here and then set it off on the side. Okay, now that you have that done, I measure out 1/2 cup of the sugar of your choice and pour it in. Okay, and you can see the fermentation. Sometimes if I do it too quickly, if there's too much liquid in the jar, it will boil over and then you have a sticky mess. So go ahead and get a wooden spoon or a rubber spatula and stir that in well. And then we're gonna take this liquid and pour it into these bottles. I think as I stir that, you can kind of see the frothy and the bubbly fermentation. The yeast is feeding on that sugar, so it's got new food, and that causes carbonation. So we're going to take this, once it's stirred in well, and put it into those bottles, and then we'll add a few pieces of fruit. Fresh or frozen works great. I do about 4 to 8 pieces of fruit, depending on what type of fruit it is, in each bottle, flavor of my choice. And then you seal those lids, and as the kombucha eats the new sugar that you just fed it and feeds off the sugar in the fruit, it gets really carbonated and it tastes like soda. It's really fizzy. So if you have the right combination, like lime and ginger together, it tastes like ginger ale. Lemon and ginger tastes a lot like 7-Up. If you put tangerine or tangerine essential oil in there, it tastes like orange soda. Grapes are fantastic in kombucha, and we've done several different berry combinations as well, and we're pretty pleased. So this is getting close to boiling. Once this boils, we'll turn it off and let it cool. Add the 1 cup of sugar to it. We'll pull those tea bags out and compost those, and then we'll pour it into our empty kombucha jar, and then you just fill it up most of the way, the rest of the way, with water. And then you will take your SCOBY that you set out and your 1 to 2 cups of starter and add that to this jar. You're going to cover it with your cloth, and I use coffee filters and a rubber band, and mark it and date it, because you'd be surprised at how fast you forget what day you made kombucha. And I also like to mark my jars. I have a masking tape addiction and marker, and I like to mark it with what flavor I have in there. And after it sits on the countertop bottled for 5 days, you will put it in the fridge, and you can drink it at any point once you bottle it, but after it sits 3 to 5 days, it gets really, really carbonated. So 1 gallon jar of kombucha is going to get you 3 of the large bottles and about 1.5 of the smaller bottles, and they don't have to be full. Leave yourself some room for fruit, but this is still going to get carbonated and fizzy just as much as the other ones are. And I can tell you that I cannot find this any cheaper than Sam's online, unless you go to the loose tea. But this will set you back about $8, and it has roughly 22 batches of kombucha in it. So it costs you almost nothing to make your own. This guy is bubbling now, so I'm going to turn him off and let him cool down. And here in about half an hour or so, maybe an hour from now, I'll put 1 cup of sugar in it, give it a good stir, and once it reaches room temperature, I'll put it in my clean gallon jar, and then top it off with water and then the cloth. So for the bottles, I'm ready to add fruit, and I have black cherries, pineapple, raspberries, there's a cherry blend, I have mango somewhere, I have tangerine in the other refrigerator. I just use a few pieces of whole frozen fruit, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Have fun making kombucha. Enjoy.